Welcome to the Strong Life Coach podcast, where we speak life, coach life, write life, and lead life. Today, I'm joined in the podcast studio by Regina Vasquez. Regina, welcome to the show.
Hi.
All right. Well, we connected on Instagram, so I'm excited to showcase your journey. If you're listening in, Regina is a Houston-based attorney focused on bankruptcy. So we're gonna toward the end of the show, we're gonna let you know how you can find Regina if you have any concerns in going through a bankruptcy yourself, or if you know somebody you can refer to her. But we'll go ahead and jump right in. Regina, let's get into the interview portion of the podcast. What inspired you to become an attorney?
Oh, this is kind of interesting or kind of different, I would say. When I was a little girl, I wanted to be the first female president. That was like my jam. That's what I wanted to do. And I was like, I'm talking about like 4 years old. Like when they first start asking you, what do you want to be when you grow up? I'd be like, I want to be the first, female president. So my mom was like, well, you know that most politicians, they actually are attorneys. So you should go to law school. So I always call my mom a Chinese mother. She was always like she always pushed me really hard. So she was like, you need to go to law school. You need to go to law school. So I was like, oh, okay, yeah, I'll go to law school. So that was really my thing. I wanted to be a politician. I wanted to be the president of the United States. And this is a good, I guess, story for anyone who's in college right now or anything like that, because that's what I want to do, politics. I got through my bachelor's degree. My bachelor's degree is in political science. My very last year, I did an internship for the House of Representatives there in Texas, in Austin, and I hated it. I absolutely hated it. Like the whole politics of everything, like the backroom kind of stuff, the deals, all the lobbyists, all of that kind of stuff, like really rubbed me the wrong way. And it's really a boys club too. So it really, really rubbed me the wrong way. But it was so late in the game. It was my senior year. So I was like, well, I guess I'm still going to go to law school. I mean, I was completely thrown off track. I had no idea. But so I was like, okay, I guess I'm still going to go to law school. So I still went to law school. But that's a good thing for anyone that's listening that's in college. Do your internships early. That way you get a taste of what it is that you're trying to go for. And that way you can get a taste, because maybe you don't like it. Maybe you won't even want to go for what you think you want to go for. You never know. You never know till you're in there.
I love the insight, because sometimes we fall in love with the idea of a dream as opposed to the actual dream itself. But I love the awareness and the realization, because I talk to a number of people, especially, of course, as college students, and they're trying to figure out what they're going to do for the rest of their life. And they have this dream goal, dream job. And sometimes when you get to that dream goal or dream job, like you said, you find out it's not all you expected or hoped it would be.
Yes. Yeah. So definitely do stuff for free, do internships, do summer stuff. And get out there and work for something for free, just so you could kind of get a taste of it and see if it's something you want to do. And you never know. It might be like, oh my God, I love it. And it might be like me, like, oh my God, this isn't for me. I don't know what I'm going to do now.
Sure.
So, yeah.
And I love the dream. I love the dream early on. And then I love the idea of your mom being such a support for you, and really like this motivating factor. Sometimes we have friends or family members who are like those spurs in our side to get moving and to focus and to have the drive and to give you the pathway forward of, hey, this is what it's going to take to reach your dream.
Yeah, and we could probably do a whole separate podcast on my mother, because she was definitely, like I said, more of like if I came home with a B, she would be like, well, couldn't have this have been an A? Short story really quick. Even when I called her when I was graduating law school with honors, I was like, Mom, I can't believe it. I'm graduating cum laude. And her very first response was, why not summa cum laude? So that's always been, my mom is more of a like, reach higher. That's not good enough kind of mom, which, can be bad. But then also, obviously, I wouldn't be where I am, without her constantly, pushing me to do better and to expect more out of myself. So yeah, it can be good and it can be bad, but she's the main factor.
Sure. Yeah, I think we probably both lived long enough to see the cautionary tales of not doing that, and then we also see stories like you. We're like, hey, well, see, look what can happen if you parent in this way, So it's good to see you are a high achiever, and you've seemed to really use that parenting style to maximize your career and the trajectory of your life path.
Yes.
So talk to me, what do you enjoy most about being an attorney?
I guess really just being able to bridge the gap. I guess the main part, I guess you do have to have a license to do it. So it's something that someone can come to me with a problem and I can navigate it pretty easily, because I only do bankruptcy. I don't do anything else. So it's really a niche. So it's sometimes it's variable, but I know it. It's my thing, so to speak. So I love when someone comes to me, they're like, oh, I have, this problem, and being able to, okay, well, this is how we get, let me navigate it for you. Like, this is where we go. This is what we're going to do, A, B, C, D, E, F, G. And being like an expert in something, I think that's really, it's nice. It's nice to be able to do that. I guess I'm proud of it.
Yes. You reminded me of this quote I heard this past week when you said what you just described, like the most successful people have 5 things they do 5,000 times versus 5,000 things they do 5 times. And what I heard from you is, you said niche, and this expertise, this specialty that you have, it's really helped you to fine tune and become an expert in that one area. And I know people out there that are, sometimes I can be all over the place, and I could have a new hobby every half week. Every week that goes by, I got like 2 new hobbies because I'm easily fascinated and seem to be endlessly distracted, right? But I love the idea of a specialty in really any industry that it allows you to have maybe what Malcolm Gladwell said, to have that 10,000 hours of practice to become that, to attain that mastery skill set.
Yeah, and you can really use that, I think, in any part of your life if you want to be good at anything. I mean, it's basically like a muscle. I mean, your brain is a muscle too. So, I mean, anything, you just got to keep on exercising it over and over and over and over, and then that's how you master something.
Yes, use it over and over and over. That's right. There's another quote I remember hearing about, like falling in love with repetition, or falling in love with boredom even sometimes. But tell me a little bit more about that. Like, how did you decide to specialize in bankruptcy? Of all, there's so many categories of the law. Like, what made you go, bankruptcy is it for me?
Okay, this is kind of like a random, my life is always these like series of forks in the road. So first started law school, I was like, oh my God, I want to be a business attorney. I want to, do business law. That's what I want to do. I ended up taking taxation as a class. I fell in love with it. I love something about the Bankruptcy Code, and I noticed that all of, the tax code, and everyone hated it. Everyone hated it in law school. Probably ask any attorney, they'll just be like, ugh, tax. But I loved it. And I loved that I loved it. And I would look around and everyone hated it. And I just really understood it. Like, I can read a law, and when you read a law, it's like all of these extra words and these weird things, because they're supposed to mean something, and that's what's supposed to mean. So there's not supposed to be a lot of interpretation, in it. So it's hard to read, but I love it. I really love it. But to be a good tax attorney, you really have to go an extra year of law school to get what's called your LLM or your master's in law, you know, to do taxation. So my husband had supported me, you know, for 2 years. My last 2 years of law school, I didn't work. So he supported me, you know, 100%. And he was like, I can't do it. I just can't do another year. It's too much. Obviously, it's, you know, it's really stressful to be in charge of all of the bills and everything. So he said, I can't do it. Well, my last year of law school, I interned for the Chapter 13 bankruptcy trustee here in Houston. And bankruptcy is obviously, it's dealing with federal law, and it is really code driven as well. So I said, you know what? I mean, it's kind of the same variable, federal and, you know, code driven. So I was like, I could really get into this. So I, again, was just kind of like led to it, and just kept up with it after that. After that, I worked for a bankruptcy law firm, and it just kind of, like they say, like the rest is history. Weird path, I guess, on how I got to my own law firm. I never wanted to own my own law firm. That's just not really what I thought I wanted to do. I've always been kind of a worker bee. Like, you give me something to do and I do it, you know, 1,000%. I, you know, knock it out of the park. That's what I like. I like for someone to give me an assignment and I just, you know, show off, you know, like,
Sure.
Look how good I did this. So I've always been like a worker bee. But when I started working, I switched law firms in 2014 to a law firm called Swindell and Associates. And he had multiple law firms in San Antonio and Fort Worth, here in Houston. Obviously, I ran his office here in Houston. And he was getting ready to retire. He wanted to settle down, and he started selling off law firms, like, you know, his San Antonio office, his Fort Worth office. And I was like, oh my God, I'm not going to have a job. And lo and behold, I ended up, you know, saying, you know, I ended up negotiating with him to do a contract where if he did decide to sell the Houston branch, that I would have the first option to purchase that, because, you know, for job security is really why I started it. But it ended up being the best thing in the world. I definitely am a strong believer in entrepreneurship and owning your own business, you know, like owning, you know, where you're at, you know, having that ownership interest in it. And I really think, you know, obviously God has a plan, and God knows exactly what he's doing and how to do it. Even when you don't know, he knows exactly what he's doing. Even if you don't. So, I mean, I think he led me right where I needed to be at the exact right time. And it ended up working out completely for the best and for my life. And this is going to be a little bit really personal, but I struggled. You know, me and my husband have been together since we were in high school. So we worked a really long time not getting pregnant because I wanted to finish school. Then I wanted to finish law school. So I worked really hard, and he did as well, at not getting pregnant. So then we got married in 2013, and we're like, okay, now let's get pregnant. Let's do it. And I couldn't get pregnant. I just could not get pregnant. We ended up having to go through IVF, and I have twins, you know, thank God, a boy and a girl. And it was actually right after I had purchased the law firm. So because I owned the law firm, I was able to really manipulate my schedule to be with my family and to be with my kids. And even right now, if right now, you know, my husband were to call and say, hey, you know, Raiden's running a fever, I need you to come home, I don't have anyone to answer to. And that's a big deal, especially, you know, with families. So again, I think, you know, God's time, you know, is perfect. And it ended up being the exact right time, you know, for me and for my life, what led me to being here today and owning, you know, my law firm.
Yes. When I'm listening to all the forks, right, as you said at the beginning when you started answering this, so like fork one, it was falling in love with tax. And then it was like fork 2, having a conversation with your husband about, hey, another year now, bankruptcy. And then fork 3, go from one law firm to another. Fork 4, you're gonna go from that law firm to, hey, he's selling it, and then you negotiated the opportunity to become the owner. And of course, I always tell people, whenever people are vulnerable, just like how you were about your own journey, I think it adds so much power and authenticity, because people know, hey, look, I'm not just telling you the glitz and glamorous part of my journey, but I'm also telling you the real, the authentic, the personal experience that I went through. So one, thank you for your vulnerability, but I also I value and appreciate how you talked about this trusting God with the process, even with the dream, right? And even I want to also highlight how you said you noticed there was something you started becoming fascinated and enjoying that not a lot of other people were. And I relate to that as a communicator and as a speaker, because, public speaking is my thing. I love getting in front of people. I love motivating, encouraging, inspiring them, giving them principles that I've learned that help people be successful. Even principles you're sharing today. Like I love being the vessel, taking the principles from Regina over to other people, so they know, hey, this is from a real person doing real things. But just realizing people hate public speaking. A lot of people do, but it happens to be something that I love. But that's something I heard in your story, is you found something that you were intensely fascinated by and you enjoyed, and then you found a way to even incorporate that into what you do with bankruptcy. So anyway, I'm saying all of that because I think it's a great principle to find something you enjoy, because probably the number of people that have shared with me how much they hate their job or hate what they do, it's probably like 90% of the people. And that's just, it's crazy. It's crazy.
Yeah. And that's honestly, it's good advice for anyone, and it goes for any industry. Find something that you love that people hate and monopolize it. So like people are scared of public speaking. You thrive off of it. So make it a career, and find a way to, monopolize it. So if someone out there, hates, making, breakfast tacos, someone hates cooking. Guess what? There are people who make millions of dollars, owning multiple restaurants and things like that, because they took a need that someone doesn't want to do and makes money off it. I mean, that is what America is. That is, I guess, what capitalism is. That's what we're based off of, is take something that someone doesn't want to do, and I'll do it for you, pay me to do it, and make money off of it.
Right. And you know what, I also love what you shared of choosing to negotiate with the owner. To tell me about, I guess go a little bit deeper. So tell me a little bit more about that, because that, to me, that's just like blow away, as you even thought of that as a possibility. Because I don't know how everybody else would have perceived that situation, but to think that you can become this, this first time law firm owner, as you said, that wasn't even part of the plan or the ambition when you started off. Like what even made you believe that was an option? Like, tell me more about it.
I didn't. The truth is, I didn't know it was an option. The truth is, I was scared. I was so scared of not having a job. I had just bought this Jeep. It was fully loaded. Of course it was, the payments were high. I was so scared. I sold it. I bought a used car. I was scared. It was really out of fear, and I was like, what am I going to do? I don't know. I'm fixing to not have a job. So I said, I hadn't even thought about really me purchasing it and me owning it. It really came out of fear. And I was like, what the hell am I going to do? I don't know what I'm going to do. And it just came out of that. And I said, you know what? Let me just give it a shot. Why? I mean, I pretty much already run this place anyway. Why not throw my name on the door? Why not me do it? And it just came like that. And I said, you know what? I'm going to ask him. And I was really nervous. Like, well, what is he going to, but the worst thing that can happen is somebody say no. Right. So I was like, I'm going to ask, hey, will you give me the first option to try to purchase, this law firm? Because another thing was coming up with the money to purchase the law firm. I had no idea. I had, nothing. But fortunately, we live in an age of Google. We live in an age of internet where you can learn anything anything in the world that you want to know. If I want to learn Mandarin, Chinese, I can take the time and learn it if I wanted to. So I started looking up, okay, what are SBA loans and how do you get an SBA loan? What is an SBA loan? And unfortunately, I got denied for an SBA loan. I just kept trying. So I asked him, hey, will you give me the first option to purchase? He ended up saying yes, thankfully. I tried for months and months to get an SBA loan. I couldn't do it because a law firm doesn't have collateral other than, desks and computers. We don't have, real assets. So the bank was like, sorry, no. I kept getting no, but I kept on. And finally I ended up negotiating with like, hey, how about I just make you payments? You're ready to retire. Don't you need monthly income? Let me pay you monthly. And luckily he ended up saying yes. I mean, it was kind of like shots in the dark. Like, let me just try it. Let me just ask him if he'll give me the first option. And he did it. And then I tried to get a loan. It didn't work. I said, let me just ask him if he'll let me make payments to him. And he did.
Yes.
So it was really just out of fear of being unemployed and just taking a shot, taking a shot in the dark and seeing, what would happen. And fortunately, he said yes. And I ended up, here.
Yes. The story right there. There's probably two virtues that stand out more than any for the story you just told. Number one was courage. And I love the idea of courage being, it's not the absence of fear, it's facing the fear. It's taking action despite the fear we have in our minds and our hearts and doing something anyway. And then I think what I heard from you was also persistence. You kept trying. And I think there's even this humility, putting the ego aside of going like, hey, I don't want to, I don't want him to know I couldn't get the SBA loan. And I don't want to see, even sometimes I know enough about people to know people go, well, I don't want to look desperate, but putting that aside and choosing, you know what? I'm simply going to make the offer to do what I can with what I have and then see where it goes, and having the courage to take those steps forward. I think those are universal principles that anybody can use, to be courageous, to be persistent, to have the humility, especially when it comes to negotiation in that world.
Yeah, because you never know. And like I said, what's the worst? The worst thing that could happen is he said no. I mean, I would have had to, apply for jobs. I'm sure I would have landed somewhere. But yeah, I mean, sometimes you just have to ask because you really don't know,
Yes. So for someone who was just starting their law firm, what advice would you give them? Like, hey, Regina, I'm starting my law firm. What advice would you offer to them?
Oh, yeah, I'd be like, no, I would definitely just say, I think you kind of said something in the very beginning, kind of about, like the glitz and glam. When people think of owning their own business, you think of the good stuff. You think of, yeah, I'm going to be my own boss. I'm going to, but you're also, tied to your business, your income, it's not always up. It's not always good. You have bad months, especially obviously everyone is going through, 2020 right now. And so you have bad times, you have times where you can't pay yourself. You have times where you can't do that. So I would definitely advise when you have your highs, set money aside because you don't know when the lows come, you don't know how long, you're going to be low. So it's definitely a challenge. So just, I would say, be prepared for that. Be prepared for the lows, the best that you can. Try to be prepared for that. And definitely don't skip out on the advertising. It's easy whenever you are in the lows to say, oh, well, let me just stop advertising. But then if you stop advertising, it's like putting a dam up. You're stopping the water from coming in, and you're never able to get out. So definitely, I would say, number one, prepare for the lows, and number two, don't skimp on the advertising.
Wow, powerful. And yeah, I think those are living below our means and not giving into lifestyle inflation. That's a pillar principle. And again, like as we said earlier, these are universal principles that can be used at any point in our journey, because there's so much uncertainty, seemingly now more than ever, with whether it's how our business is going to go, or in this context of even how a law firm, people that are starting their law firm, how that's going to go. But I think setting aside money, and I love how you talked about like continuing the grind of advertising, to advertise, to put yourself out there, to continue to invest in something that's going to continue to grow the business in a long-term fashion.
Yes.
So, and I know we didn't have this question as part of the initial set of questions I sent you, but I was curious is how has your business like adjusted through COVID-19, through the pandemic? How has your business shifted and adjusted through the journey?
Oh, it's changed so much. I've had to basically rearrange kind of the way I do business. So it always used to be that we have to meet with clients face to face. It's even like in part of our rules. In our bankruptcy court, we have what are called fixed fee agreements, and it's actually in there that we met with the client an hour face to face. So face to face was a really big deal, in our industry. So even whenever a potential client would call, my receptionist wouldn't even patch them through to me. It would be like, no, you have to come into the office. You have to come into the office. Obviously, in the world that we live in right now, that is just not it. So it didn't take me that long to click to it, but it definitely took an adjustment to be like, no, if a PC is on the phone or a potential client is on the phone, get them to me right now. Let me just do the consultation virtually. Let me talk to them on the phone and do it all now, because I know that I'm not the only attorney who's at home. And obviously we're back in the office now, but we're still not meeting with clients the same way. So, but I know that, you can go down to the next person on Google, and chances are you're going to get to talk to the attorney now. It's not the same world that it used to be, where we were kind of more exclusive, and you had to make an appointment and you had to come in and see us. We're living more in a virtual world right now, and 2020 has pushed us, to really be in a virtual kind of world. So it took me to more of a place of, give me the phone call, like, let me do the consultation, right then and there, where before it was a little bit more, I think, inaccessible, to get to, where you have to wait until Tuesday at 3:00 before you can get any advice from me. Now you call, you're going to get me on the phone and you're going to get advice, right away, because I don't want you to go to my competitor and get advice right now, because who knows, he might be in his pajamas right now waiting, for those phone calls, sitting there waiting. So I don't want you, to go to them. I want, obviously I want, you to come to me. So I'm gonna take your call and do the consultation right now. So that was definitely a different adjustment, for myself and for my office. But I think it's a good adjustment. I really like it a lot better, because a lot of times, sometimes you don't need bankruptcy. And that way we get it out of the way, right then and there, and you don't waste your time or your gas money or anything like that. And, that way, right away. And a lot of times people who need bankruptcy don't even know they need it. So that's good too. Sometimes they're calling me about a repossession, about a foreclosure, and they don't even know that they actually do need a bankruptcy. And I get to talk to them about that right away, rather than if my assistant were to take the call to try to set an appointment, they'd be like, oh, I don't need a bankruptcy. That's not what I want, and hang up and never know that is actually what you need. But they needed to talk to me to kind of get that advice first.
Mm-hmm. Ah, yes. The visual you gave me as you were sharing it was like it's become in some ways a little bit more of a race between you and your competitors as far as the availability that you have. You know, it's your presence. Yeah, I think your presence has, although of course it was precious before, but like the timing of your presence has become almost more valuable to be more present sooner as opposed to later.
Exactly, because I know that everyone's doing it by the phone now. So, why wait to set you up, for later if I can take you right now,
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah.
Yes. Yes, and we're going to give you this information later, but we'll also put it in right now. So if you want to give Regina Vasquez a call about bankruptcy or about foreclosure, about some of those things she just mentioned, the phone number to reach her is 713-344-0997. And as you just heard, she's striving to be as available as possible to get to you as soon as possible, because she does want you to go to her and not her competitor.
That's true. And you can also send a text message to that phone number. So even if it's after hours, on the weekend, you can shoot a text message, a question, and we would get back to you right away.
Yes. Look at that versatility. I love it. So tell me, what is one thing you would do as an attorney or even as a law firm owner if you knew you couldn't fail?
Oh, that's a tough one. I mean, that's a really, really tough one. I don't know. I really don't know if there's something, out there that I would really want to do. I mean, honestly, again, I am like a pretty firm believer in if you want to do it, learn it and do it. So I don't think that there's anything out there that I'm not doing that I want to do. I mean, this is, where I want to be. And if something did come along one day or something that I wanted to do, I would probably grind and learn how to do it and start doing it. So, yeah, I definitely believe in that. So,
Yes.
Yeah, I'm doing it. I'm doing what I want to do right now.
All right. And so there's nothing wrong with hey, that's your strong spot. Your strong spot is you see it, you do it. You're not leaving anything on the table waiting for potentially later down the line. You've already been pursuing things that you see and that you want to do. I love that. And I think that's a message for the rest of us, when we have things on the table that we want to do, to take the initiative, so Regina seems to have that strength. I mean, she's been taking these different initiatives already in her journey. And I think that's a message for us as well. And really it speaks about your journey, whether it's negotiating for the law firm. Like if you knew you wouldn't fail, why not?
Right.
And taking on that responsibility. And
like one thing that I do want to do right now, one thing that I'm learning and kind of reading, listening, looking at YouTubes and all kinds of internet stuff is Instagram. Like because our business model has changed so much to virtual, where I didn't really play into social media that much. But, you know what? I watched a movie. That's what really changed. What's it called? Like Social. Oh, man. It's on Netflix.
The Social
It's
Dilemma?
on is that what it's called? Where like they tell you how scary social media is,
right.
How it's taking over. Okay. As a business owner, I read that. All right. I saw it. And instead of being scared or being like, oh my God, I need to put down my phone. It's taking over my life. I was like, how do I tap into this? I don't mind it. Listen to me. If I'm talking about skis, show me some skis. That's fine. But how do I get into it where someone's talking about repossession, about foreclosure? I want to be on their phone too. The opposite. I was like, how is this only money for Apple and these big companies? I want in on it too. Like, I want to make money like this too. I want to be, present everywhere. So one thing I really started focusing on in the last, couple weeks after watching that movie is building my Instagram. So I've been trying to learn free apps. And like I said, watching all these YouTube videos about, Instagram posts and stuff. And that's exactly what led me even here to you today,
That's
to your
right.
listeners. And hopefully they will follow me on Instagram. So my dream of building my Instagram will come true. Because again, the tools are out there. I'm a student right now. I'm a student of social media right now, trying to learn how to use those tools and, for my business, so that way it can grow.
Yes, that's right. No, you're right. This is a testimonial to your grind and hustle and expanding your Instagram presence, because that's the reason I was able to find you. So,
Yeah.
absolutely. So yes, if you're listening in, and go over to Legally Vasquez and follow my friend Regina Vasquez, my new friend, because we just connected yesterday on Instagram. So go follow her, help her account, go like some of the images and engage with some of her content, so we can help her grow her Instagram account.
Yeah, and if y'all have any tips, DM me if you think like, oh man, this shot is ugly, or just DM me and let me know.
Yes, I love the ambition for feedback and for growth, for sure. All right, so what have you found? I know you talked about advertising earlier, so I'm going to ask you about it, because a number of law firms are curious about that, which is, what has been the best way you found to market your law firm?
Ooh, I love Google. Again, we are on. I push for Google reviews. I push my clients, when they've had good experiences, to write me reviews on Google. Just because you got to kind of think like a client. So for example, when I needed to go to the dentist, last year, first thing I did, Google best dentist in Houston. And what did I do? I read reviews. I wanted to know what experience they had. If they didn't have, 5 stars, or if I'm looking at a 4-star one and a 5-star one, I went with the 5-star one, of course. So I try to look at it the same way. So I try my best to treat my clients top priority, because I want them to go out there and write me a 5-star review, because I know not only for them to give them good service, I know that means a lot. That they'll, one, tell other people about me, their friends, their cousins, anyone else who's having, that situation. But when I ask them to write me a review, they're going to do it because I gave them, the most that I could. And so that reputation, I guess, building a good reputation and making sure that reputation is accessible on something like Google, because that's how people are going to find you. So it's almost like karma, if you give it out, you'll get it. So the same thing, give your clients good, you'll get good reviews, and those reviews matter. You can also do things like Google Ads and stuff like that, but don't waste your money on Google Ads if you don't have any good reviews. Because again, they're going to compare, they're going to shop around. And if they see you with 2 stars and they see your competitor with 5 stars, they're going to go with the 5-star one. So give good service and watch it come back and grow for you.
Yes, I love it. I love it. Maximizing Google. And what I love about it is you ask for your clients to go do the reviews. And that's, you would be surprised how often that does not happen, where people they don't want to impose, they don't want to make it a little bit uncomfortable, but I love that you do that, because it does. I mean, one of my go-to books on helping business owners become more persuasive and influential is Dr. Robert Cialdini's his book on influence, on persuasion. It's the scientific pillars of persuasion, and one of those is what you just said, which is social proof. People want to know. We do it on Amazon when we shop. We do it on Google when we shop. We're looking for, well, how many people and have said good things about them, and what good things did they say? And based on these, even if it's these complete strangers, what do complete strangers think about this person? But even how you said, if it's a family member or friend, it's that much more powerful to have the social proof that gives you the credibility for what you do as an attorney.
Yeah, because I think, again, you just have to look at it as yourself. Like if you're trying to answer a question, like how do I get more clients? You got to think, well, how do I find businesses? What do I do? Like even me and my husband, we were trying to look for a good Mexican restaurant, a different one. You know, sometimes you want to change it up. So we were looking at, restaurants, and we found this restaurant. And even if you Google it right now, it's El Paso Mexican restaurant here in Houston. And they have so many reviews, and I forgot the name now, of course, but hundreds of reviews mention this specific waiter and how amazing he is. So me and my husband literally went to this restaurant. We're like, is so-and-so working? Because we want to sit in his section. I mean, that specific. I mean, we literally went to a restaurant that we've never gone to before and asked for a waiter that we don't even know, because those Google reviews were they were praising him so much. I was like, I don't know what he does. I didn't even know maybe he twirls plates. I mean, they made it sound like he was like the most amazing thing since sliced bread. I was like, we have to go eat there and we have to sit in his section. So, I mean, it means a lot. Google reviews, I think, mean a lot, in the society that we live in right now. So definitely, for sure, take advantage of it.
I love that. I love that example. So, what was his secret sauce? So did y'all get a chance to sit at his
No,
section?
He wasn't working.
Oh no!
I know, but see, it still brought us there, and we still ate there. You know?
There you go. Yes.
There, but yeah, he wasn't working. So yeah, I have to try again.
So if I'm ever in Houston, I'll be thinking about this one server at the El Paso Mexican restaurant.
Yes. I'm telling you, Google it and look at those reviews. I mean, they're hilarious. I mean, there's so many of them. And another thing about asking, for every 20 clients that I ask to do a Google review, I only get one. But like you said, it's about persistence. Of course, I don't want to bug them. I'm not going to bug the same client over and over, but I'll ask every single client. And like I said, maybe for every 20, I actually get one of them to actually do the review. But still, I mean, it's about persistence and, keeping it up and being consistent on what you want to do. So I consistently ask every client to do a review whenever they get their discharge. So it's just about, making like kind of little roadmap and putting in those things that you want into it and being consistent about it.
I love it. I love the consistency, and I love the perspective, because sometimes you do go through, hey, we'll ask 5 people for testimonials, and then none of them worked out. Or even, I released my book last week on Amazon, and so I'm asking people. Of course, it's always this interesting thing, because some people haven't read the whole book. So it's like, hey, if you've read a couple of chapters and you liked it and you feel comfortable, give me the 5-star review on Amazon. And so, and I relate to that, because you could ask a lot of people for reviews, in your context, you were talking about Google. In my context, I'm talking about Amazon. But to be persistent through some of the people who won't, to get to those few people who will, highlighting what you said about.
Yeah, like even for you, if there's you need to just make it a habit. If anyone DMs you and asks you a question about your book, they read it, they've enjoyed it because they took the time out to find you and DM you and be like, hey, I appreciate that you, enjoy my book. Go write me, go give me 5 stars on Amazon, and just making that habit of every time you interact with someone about your book to do it.
Yes.
Not everyone's going to do it, but at least you get more out there. It's just about creating that habit.
Mm-hmm. So I'm going to take my homework from the podcast, everybody. So if you're listening in, I'm going to take the homework that Regina just gave me. So I have a list of 40 people who pre-ordered the book, and then the people who've ordered it since then. I'm going to ask every single one of them individually for a review. Yeah. So we're going to see where we are now. I think I have 1 review right now. So it's super fresh. But I'm going to take the feedback that Regina's giving, and I'm going to put it into practice, because that's where all the magic happens, where the action happens. Now, tell me about establishing work-life balance as an attorney. How do you do that?
Oh, well, I think this kind of touches on the story I gave about my kind of infertility. So it was really hard for me to have kids. So obviously it's a little bit different for me. I feel it might not be any different from anyone as a parent, but for me, I feel like it's different because obviously my kids, it took me so long and such a hard journey to get there that it is my number one, priority. Before having kids, I really thought even, I took over the law firm before having kids. I really thought, because obviously I am very ambitious and I am very whatever. I pictured myself working like super late, long hours, like never stopping the grind, like all about, my business. But going through that, infertility kind of gave me a better appreciation or a greater appreciation, for my kids and for my family. So, really, I definitely make the time, and I make it work. I make it balance. Even my actual hours, for the office are 8 to 4, and on Fridays, they're 8 to 12. A couple of reasons. I mean, I really don't feel like there's any reason to be. Most people don't call. They don't call me after 4, and I am really accessible. Most people know if they email me on a Sunday at 3 p.m., I'll email them back by 3:30. I always have my phone. So there's no really reason for my butt to be in the seat, so to speak. And then plus, like even the girls, that I have here working for me, what are they going to be doing? Scrolling through Facebook, they might as well be at home, with their families, too. So, and I think that helps also too with work product for employees. You give them that time so that way when they are here, they're productive because they know that they're not going to be here, from till 6, 7 o'clock at night. So they're going to put in the work while they're here because they get to go home, at 4 o'clock. So I try to really make that family time, priority. Like, again, I do, kind of doze off or not doze off, but I'll stop paying attention to the kids. I'll be on my phone, answering emails or doing whatever. But then I'll put the phone down and I'll try to be present and, and attentive. And then if you make quality time with your family, then your work time is your work time, if that makes sense. Sure. I don't know. Try to be present where your feet are planted. If my feet are here at work, then I'm at work and that's what I'm doing. And then if my feet are planted at home in front of my kids, then I spend that time with my kids. So, I mean, I try, to balance it out like that, to just be present and have, quality time as opposed to just time, so I try.
Yes. I appreciate that. A lot of respect to you being present where your feet are planted. I think that's a one-liner I need to put in my back pocket. And I really like the poetic flow of it, but I like the principle behind it more, which is present. It's so easy in our world to be distracted. To get another text message, email, get a ping on social media, but I think there's power in giving the focus to the people that we love the most and we care about the most. Because we can build all the riches in the world, but then if our if
you got nobody to share with,
right,
it's not very rich. It's not very rich here.
That's right.
You can be rich money wise, but you're still not rich, here, without that love, and family.
Yes, absolutely. Now, so the question we'll use to bring it in for a landing is, what are your favorite qualities of your favorite people?
Ooh, I think definitely one of the favorite qualities that I have to touch on would be my husband's faith. So I am one, just like I told you about, the law firm, and I was going literally crazy, sold my car, got a used car. I mean, I was going nuts, I'm going to be, unemployed. I'm going to be, whatever. My husband is always have this faith and this calm coolness about him. Like, it's going to work out. It's fine. Like almost like a hippie. That's how I meant it. He's not a hippie at all, but like kind of like real go with the flow. Like, it'll work out. It's fine. And I admire that quality so much. And I really do wish, I had that quality, but I know that it wouldn't go with my flow, but that kind of faith that it's going to work out. I wish I really do wish that, I had a little bit more of that, because it's a little bit less stressful. It's a little bit less anxious and just more trusting that everything is going to work out. And I love that quality about him. And I guess that's why we work out, because I am more crazy and like planning and anxious and, stuff like that. And he's more calm. So I can lean on him, although sometimes it does make me mad. Like, how can you be so calm? Like, the world is falling apart. How can you be so calm? But he's really just like, it'll be fine. It's going to work out. Just have faith and it'll be fine. And I don't know, it's a good quality.
Absolutely. Yes, sure. I love hearing the favorite quality of faith in your husband. I think that's always warm and uplifting. And I hope when he hears this, he's even that much more encouraged to know that you are somebody who compliments, and he compliments him in a powerful way because of both of your own strength and styles. Now, as we bring this for an end, so one, I want to say thank you once again, Regina, for joining me for the podcast.
Well, thank you so much for having me.
I want to say, if you're listening in and you're wondering, how do I get a hold of Regina? This is how you get a hold of her. Now, and I'll put this on the screen so you're able to see this as well. And so her Instagram is Legally Vasquez. So go to her page, follow her, share some of her posts into your stories. The phone number to get a hold of her via text or phone call is 713-344-0997. And if you want to go to her website, it's www.vasquezlawgroup.net. And if you're listening in, this is the Strong Life Coach podcast, where we speak life, coach life, write life, and lead life. Thank you all for listening, and we'll see you on the next episode.
Bye.